So, folks, MAGA loves cancel culture. And the truth of the matter is, they always have. Conservatives are the ones who invented cancel culture. You can go all the way back to the days when they tried to ban Elvis from being shown he could only be shown from the waist up. They went after Elvis way back in the day, said that he was poisoning the minds of our youth. And they went after the Beatles, of course, because they had long hair. And the funny part about that is they thought the Beatles had long hair when they just had the mop top. And then later on, when the Beatles discovered drugs and ended up making Sergeant Pepper and ended up growing their hair even longer, conservatives were always losing their mind over that. And I'm sure some of y'all are old enough to remember, or maybe you learned about it later, when John Lennon made the comment about the Beatles being more popular than Jesus. Conservatives of the day absolutely burned Beatle records in the street. The Klan came to Beatles shows. It's one of the reasons why that the Beatles had to stop performing back then live in front of audiences, because of the chaos that was ending up at their shows. Lennon even went back and explained what he meant by what he said, and he said, "I never said we were bigger or greater than Jesus Christ. I was just simply pointing out that we are more popular these days among kids." Didn't do him any good, though. They were ready to cancel the Beatles. And it's always been that way. They have always been about canceling people who they disagree with. This is their creation. But what happened as you come on up later, in later years, they started getting held accountable for their racism, accountable for their bigotry, accountable for the homophobia, transphobia, Islamophobia, and every other phobia that they have. And when we began to hold their feet to the fire and hold them accountable, that's when they started screaming, "You're canceling us! You're canceling us!" And I've always said, these comedians that scream they got canceled, how do you get canceled and you say have a Netflix special? That one will never make sense to me. They're not canceled. They're just held accountable for the things that they say. And so, that's the way it was, but they confuse the two. They say they're the party of free speech. They say they're the party that's against cancel culture. They say they're the party that's against doxing. But then the Vice President of the United States went on to Charlie Kirk's podcast and encouraged his followers to dox and to cancel anyone who disagreed with Charlie Kirk or made any joke whatsoever. He really did this. Take a look.
So when you see someone celebrating Charlie's murder, call them out. And hell, call their employer. We don't believe in political violence, but we do believe in civility. And there is no civility in the celebration of political assassination. Get involved. Get involved. Get involved. It's the best way to honor Charlie's legacy.
Well, I can say that if Charlie was still with us and it had been someone else who received his fate, he would probably be doing the same thing. He would be encouraging people to get out there and dox people and cancel people and cause people to lose their job and lose their livelihood because they disagreed with the vile, racist, disgusting shit that Charlie Kirk said. It's super crazy to me to see them suddenly flip this script. And you go back and look at the stuff they tried to cancel and why, and you compare the two. And you say, okay, here was Kid Rock pouring out his Bud Light and throwing a fit because they put a transgender on a can, which, by the way, never hit the stores. It was a gift to that person. But Kid Rock threw such a tantrum that they went out of their way to cancel Budweiser and to destroy. They wanted to destroy the entire company, an American company. They wanted to put it under. That's MAGA. Because someone included someone else, and they don't want anyone else included into anything. They want it to just be their world. So if you include other people and you gift them a can with them on it, then your company should be shut down, and anyone that drinks your beer should be shut down. But if you make a remark about a guy who you disagree with on their side, they're ready to call your employer and have you doxxed. Can you imagine, and I hate to do whataboutisms, but I have to on this one. If Barack Obama or Joe Biden or Kamala Harris had have ever went on a podcaster show, filled in for them, and called for doxing of people who watched Fox News, they would talk about that one for the rest of my life anyway. It would be a talking point from them from now on, but the hypocrisy of this one is so off the charts. And folks, they have absolutely no self-awareness whatsoever because we have saw them sit back and mock and celebrate so many deaths. And I don't want to go back and show all the footage and show all the clips of them laughing and making jokes over George Floyd. They found every way to demonize anyone protesting during the Black Lives Matter protests. They made a hero out of Kyle Rittenhouse. They mocked and made fun of the people that Kyle Rittenhouse killed. They thought that was fine. No problem there. Paul Pelosi. We could sit here and talk about all those things that they gleefully enjoyed. We could also show you reel after reel after reel of January 6th. But they say that you should be doxxed and you should be fired from your job and you should lose your livelihood if you disagreed with someone and called it out. And by the way, I never celebrated Charlie Kirk's death. I would not celebrate his death. I think it's disgusting to do so, but it's not illegal to do so. I don't approve of the people doing it, but they have a First Amendment right to do it. And if they want to have a party and invite their friends, yeah, it's kind of sickening, but hey, it's a free country. You do what you want. That's how it used to be in Maga, or that's the stuff they preached, but they don't practice what they preach. And the fact that Mike Johnson could stand there on national television and say this with a straight face, I mean, he deserves the award for being able to say this with a straight face after everything Donald Trump said. He said this with no shame whatsoever, no self-awareness whatsoever. Let's take a listen to Maga Mike.
Not helpful. That is not productive, and it leads to bad consequences. Leaders cannot call their political opponents Nazis and fascists and enemies of the state because they disagree with their policy priorities. I mean, this is something we should have learned in grade school. This type of language spurs on depraved people, deranged people who take that as a cue.
Imagine if the Allman Brothers had went on national TV and said anybody that plays a song longer than 2 minutes, that's so unnecessary. Anyone that sits in jams for 30 minutes, that's ridiculous. I don't know why anyone would ever do that. Someone would call them out and say, wait a minute, that's some BS. I mean, that is Trump's entire act, is demonizing his political opponents. So we're not going to watch this entire 6-minute clip that was put together of Trump doing it, but let's just watch some of this, and I may skip ahead. We'll just watch it together here. But, yeah, you can't call your opponents radical. You can't call them fascist. You can't call them names. Oh, that would be awful. Well, I mean, here he is, folks, and I don't know. I mean, when I heard Mike Johnson say that, I was like, the gall on your face, pal, really, truly. But listen, let's just listen. I won't put you through the entire 6 minutes, but just to show what a hypocrite and how Mike Johnson has zero self-awareness, take a look.
Kamala Harris does not have the compassion, the intelligence, or the strength the presidency needs. I know what it needs. You meet some people. Among the worst that you're going to meet, though, are in our country. I call it the enemy from within.
We have the enemy outside, which would be the very standard countries, and we have the enemy from within. We have some very sick people from within.
You know, I always say there's an enemy from within.
We have a bigger problem, in my opinion, with the enemy from within, and it drives them crazy when I use that term. But we have an enemy from within. We have people that are really bad people that I really think want to make this country unsuccessful. You know what they are? They're a party of sound bites. Somebody asked me, can they be brought together? You know, I never thought, really, I wasn't thinking like they could, because they're very, very different. And it is the enemy from within, and they're very dangerous. They're Marxists and communists and fascists.
But I protect you against outside enemies. But, you know, I always say we have the outside enemy, so you can say China, you can say Russia, you can say Kim Jong-un, you can say, but that's not, it's going to be fun. If you have a smart president, no problem. It's the enemy from within, all the scum that we have to deal with that hate our country. That's a bigger enemy than China and Russia.
That's the enemy. I guess that maybe is the enemy from within.
I can't take any more of it, but you get the drift, and I know that you all knew that he said those things. Yeah, we're the enemy from within. We're radicals, Marxists, communists, socialists. He named every word, and Mike Johnson sat there with a straight face and said what he said. Now, I also want to point out another thing, is during the whole, back when Elon took over X, and he had hate speech all over the platform. He just let it onto the platform and just let it invade and just let it grow. And it did. It absolutely grew on his platform. He sat down for an interview with Don Lemon, and he said that hate speech was free speech. Now Pam Bondi says that there's a difference. She says there's freedom of speech, but there's hate speech, and if y'all hated Charlie, then we're absolutely going to come after you. That's what Pam Bondi is saying now. But Charlie Kirk himself, before I play the clip real quick of Elon, let's show you what Charlie had to say about hate speech. Charlie said hate speech does not exist legally in America. There's ugly speech, there's gross speech, there's evil speech, and all of it is protected by the First Amendment, keep America free. So when Pam Bondi said what she said about how she was going to be going after anyone who disagreed with Charlie, by Charlie's own words, he disagreed with what she was saying. But I want to go back and play you an old clip of when Don Lemon was interviewing Elon. Elon was going to bat hard in the paint for hate speech and accusing Don of wanting censorship. Take a look.
We don't agree on this.
Yes, you want censorship and I don't.
No, I don't want censorship at all.
Yes, you do.
No, I want responsibility. I think there...
You desperately want censorship.
No, if I want a censorship...
You want censorship so bad you can taste it.
No, that's not true. It's not true. I think that there's right and wrong. And I think that...
You want censorship.
And I think that when you have a platform that's as big as yours and as powerful as yours and as influential as yours, and you are a person of consequence to the world with what you do, that there is a certain responsibility that goes along with what you have on your platform and what you put out to the world. And I think that's important. You don't see that responsibility?
I think we have a responsibility to adhere to the law. And if people want the law changed, they should talk to their elected representative and get the law changed, and then we will adhere to the law.
Okay.
But if you want us to go beyond the law, that is us deciding to be censors. And I'm against censorship. I'm in favor of freedom of speech.
Yeah.
And freedom of speech only is relevant when people you don't like say things you don't like. Otherwise, it has no meaning.
I mean, where do you go from there? There is his words saying that hate speech is free speech. We have to have it, and it's not against the law. Well, while I do say that it's not right and it's sickening in my opinion, there's people out there that are of the opinion that making jokes about Charlie is okay, and they have a First Amendment right, according to Elon Musk, to do it. And when people who were spreading white supremacy and Nazi bullshit all over his platform, and they were getting doxxed and they were getting called out for it, he made this post here to them people. He said, if you're treated unfairly by your employer due to posting or liking something on this platform, we will fund your legal bill. No limit. Let us know. So if anybody out there gets doxxed over what J.D. Vance is encouraging, I guess reach out to Elon. Reach out to him and tell him that you were treated unfairly on his platform because you made a joke about Charlie, and that free speech, hate speech is free speech, and you had every right to do it. It's so ridiculous how they have no self-awareness, but it also drives home the point that, folks, they are always projecting onto us who they are. They always wanted censorship. Maga invented cancel culture years ago. It is their baby. It's their creation. They've always wanted it. They've always wanted to silence anyone who disagrees with them. But I want to point out that the people that they have went after and tried to silence were people who tried to bring people together, were people who went against their outdated, ancient ideas. That's the people that they wanted shut down. That's the people they want to put out of business. But then when someone passed away, and I've never seen anything like it, you go play Charlie Kirk clips, they get pissed. They get mad at you for playing his clips of him saying it. And they'll say we're taking it out of context, but if you listen to the entire episode in which he said these things, it gets even worse when you listen to it in a long-winded format. If it was okay for them to sit back and mock Paul Pelosi, if it was okay for them to sit back and mock George Floyd and make Kyle Rittenhouse into a hero and all of those things, if it was okay for them and that was free speech, then how can they turn and do it? I'll tell you how they can. It's because they were always projecting and they were always out to shut down anyone who disagreed with them. And I'll close with this clip of Trump, who just snapped at a reporter. Just snaps at a reporter who asks us a question and says, yeah, maybe we'll just come after you because you treat me unfairly.
Pam Bondi's saying she's going to go after hate speech. Is that, I mean, a lot of your allies say hate speech is free speech.
She'll probably go after people like you because you treat me so unfairly. It's hate. You have a lot of hate in your heart. Maybe they'll come after ABC. Well, ABC paid me $16 million recently for a form of hate speech, right? Your company paid me $16 million for a form of hate speech, so maybe they'll have to go after you.
So basically, hate speech is if you disagree with Donald Trump. If you disagree with him, you're treating him unfairly. He's that fragile that people can't even disagree with him, that now he isn't trying to shut them down. It's absolutely ridiculous, folks, that that's where we're at in 2025. But we all sat and said and talked about Project 2025 and told everyone what was going to happen if he got reelected, and now it's happening. And it really sucks being the ones that said, we told you so. But always remember, MAGA does not and never has valued free speech. They just want to say whatever they say in this world with zero accountability, and then go after everyone and hold everyone accountable for every word that they disagree with. That is MAGA's MO. It has been from day one, and it always will be.